Hey everyone, Tara Lynn here. Sorry about this video being a recording instead of a live. Super disappointed about that. I feel like I haven't connected with you guys in a while because January feels like the longest month ever. But YouTube is giving me a whole lot of trouble tonight despite being ready to go at start time. It's just not allowing any streaming right now, and I don't know what the problem is. So I've tried everything I can think of. I've restarted my computer, cleared the internet cache, disconnected and reconnected cameras, but it seems like the issue is actually with broadcasting on YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and record this with my biggest apologies, and hopefully it's not super inconvenient for most of you. I am using our Romantic Glow color palette, and so I've got my paints here. So for the colors, I will put those up on the screen, but we are using right here, I've got Poodleskirt pink, I've got Petal pink, I've got Carousel pink, and I mixed just the tiniest bit of black in there to just tone it down a bit because this Carousel pink is really kind of bright. You don't have to do that. And then this is Poetic Plum and Carousel pink and Poetic Plum. So those are the colors I'm using. You can use the exact same colors, or you can substitute with similar colors. Either way, it'll turn out beautifully. Sorry, I'm just a little bit flustered tonight. I was all set up to do things one way, and here we are doing things a different way. I do have my step-by-step guide, so if you like to follow along with that, you can have that printed out and ready next to you. I've got my background painted black here. And I've got a 16-arm stencil. I am going to get started with a 10mm center dot, and we're going to use the darkest color, Poetic Plum, and that's going to go right in the center, 10mm center dot. My colors on screen, for whatever reason, my camera does not pick up purples very well. They look a little different. This looks red. But actually, red would be very pretty, so I'm not even upset about it. $10mm center. Then I'm going to grab a 2mm stylus, and I'm going to do a ring of 16. So I'm going to use Poetic Plum, the same color, 2mm. I'm going to do my main 8. And then I'm going to go halfway in between those, and that will give me 16. I feel like I need to focus this just a little bit. All right, so that was 2mm. I'm going to go up to 3mm, and I'm going to use my Carousel pink and Poetic Plum mix. I'm going to do another ring of 16. These are offset, which means they are in between that previous row. So I do a ring of 8, and then I'm going to go in between each of those. These end up being in each of the spaces where the previous line were on the lines. For this pattern, we are building up several rings. So next, I'm going to use 4mm and Carousel pink, so I'm just going down this gradient. Ring of 16, these are going to go on the lines. Got a few that are just a little smaller. I don't think it'll be super noticeable when I finish, but I just feel like my rings are not even here. It happens. Alright, so there was a ring of 16, 4mm with my Carousel pink. Then I'm going to get my 5mm tool, and I'm going to do another ring in Petal pink this time. So not quite the lightest, but we're getting there. These are going to go in every space. That was 5mm in Petal pink. Next, I'm going to grab a 3mm dotting rod. You can use a ball stylus if you want to. I make more even dots when I use the rod. So I'm going to use a 3mm. I am going to use Poodleskirt pink, which is the lightest pink, and we are going to make our hearts. So I'm going to also need one of my small styluses. And the way that we're going to do that, these are going to go on the line. So I'm just going to pick a line. And you'll see I'm kind of at this ring here, so I'm going to use this line right here to help me. I'm going to dip and dot, and dip and dot, make 2 dots, and then I'm going to use the tip of my stylus to bring those into a point and fill in that heart. And of course you can just add a little more paint to make sure none of your background shows. So we're using the lightest color. I'm going to skip a line, so we're going to do 8 of these every other line. So dip and dot, dip and dot. pull it into a little heart shape and fill it in. Skip a line. I love making these little hearts. These are so cute. We are getting close to Valentine's Day, so they are appropriate, but they are cute in designs all year long. Alright, so there are 8 hearts in the Poodleskirt pink. Next, I'm going to fill in the spaces that we skipped with hearts in Poetic Plum. So I'm going to do the exact same thing, but with my darkest color on the lines that we skipped. So we've got a ring of 16 hearts in every other color, the lightest pink and the darkest. right, we're gonna use our gold paint. I'm gonna mix mine up a little bit here because it's been sitting for a few minutes. I'm gonna mix a pinch of water in mine just to make sure it's fluid enough. All right, so gold paint, we're gonna use our 8mm tool, and we're gonna add dots above the lightest pink hearts. I'm just popping a bubble. I got a big old bubble in here that I do not want in my mandala. So right above your petal pink hearts, we're using our 8mm rod and gold paint. And if you want to, sometimes metallics can be kind of gloopy. You can kind of spread out the paint in that dot if you want to make it look a little bit better. Sometimes it just depends on how the paint lays on there. Sometimes it cooperates, sometimes it does not. So it's 8mm in gold, a dot above every petal pink heart or Poodleskirt pink heart, the lightest hearts. I'm going to continue using gold. I'm going to switch to a 4mm rod, and we're going to add 2 dots above the Poetic pink hearts, or the Poetic plum hearts. So right above the darkest heart, there's a line, so I'm going to kind of center this in the same ring, but one to the right of that line and one to the left of that line. So in between each large dot, we're going to have 2 small dots. Dip and dot each time to keep your dots consistent size. Got a little smudge here I'm going to have to fix. So we're going to continue that ring all the way around with those double dots. Next, I'm going to grab my stylus, and I'm going to find a red, or a, I keep calling it red because on screen it looks red to me, Poetic Plum. Find a Poetic Plum heart, and then right above the Poetic Plum is where we're going to work. So I'm going to grab a 3mm stylus, Petal Pink, which is my number 2 color, not my lightest, but my next lightest, and we are going to swipe every other line. So I'm going to skip this line, go right above a Poetic Plum heart. And we are going to swipe. So we end up with 8 swipes. I'm kind of going halfway, going back to the top, and then swiping all the way because I've got a longer way to go. But we're going to end up with 8 swipes. I'm going to continue using my 3mm stylus and Carousel pink, which is my middle pink tone, and we're going to walk the dots down each side. So I'm going to dip, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, dip, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to do this next to every swipe. Next part of this element, I'm going to continue using my 3mm stylus. I am going to switch to my Carousel pink and Poetic Plum, my mix here. So I'm going to dip, and I'm going to give this kind of a swoosh. So I'm going to start a little bit outward from where I'm going, and I'm going to swoop down to that gold dot. So beside each one of those elements, we're adding a little swoosh. This is 3mm, the Carousel pink and Poetic Plum mixture. Probably could have made those a little taller, but that's okay. Next, I'm going to get my 4mm tool. I'm going to go to Poodleskirt pink. That's the lightest pink. We're going to make hearts in between these segments here. In between these elements, we're going to have a heart in here. Now, I don't want to go all the way to my edge because I do have an element that's going to go up here. It's going to be 3 dots. Okay, so not all the way at the end. We have a little room. We're going to dip and dot and dip and dot. And then we're going to pull those into hearts, just like we did with the smaller hearts in the other row, in the other ring. So there are going to be 8 of these. 4mm with the lightest pink, Poodleskirt pink. After you finish those hearts, you can use a stylus or a rod. I'm going to use my 3mm stylus. We're going to do a triple dot crown above the hearts in the Poetic Plum. So we're going to dip and dot, and then dip and dot a third time, right above that heart. All right, this is the base of the design. I am going to pause the video for a moment and I'm going to dry this. I don't have a mute option when I'm doing a recorded video. So instead of blowing your ears out, I'm going to pause the recording. I'm going to dry this and then we're going to top dot. All right, my piece is dry enough that I can top dot now. And I'm not going to do a ton of top dots. This is a fairly busy design, but I'm going to use my 3mm stylus and my Poetic Plum. And what we're going to do is I'm going to dip in the Poetic Plum and I'm going to walk the dots starting with this ring out here, 3 dots. And you can see that I'm putting them inward. I'm not centering them. So I'm dipping once and then dot, dot, dot. And these dots are on the inside of that circle, or on the innermost side. They're off center, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. But that gives it a little bit of a different look. So dot, 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 and then redip. Next, I'm going to do some gold. I'm going to grab my 6mm rod, my gold paint, and we're going to do a center dot. Right there in the middle. And then you can choose 1.5 or 2mm, and we're going to just add a top dot on these, on the triple dot crown. So dip and dot, dip and dot, dip and dot. Of course, we got to do that all the way around. And that is the finished design. Thank you all for bearing with me with my technical difficulties today. I'm going to go ahead and stop right here, get this video uploaded for you so you can create yours. And since we could not create together today, I would love it if you would share with me in the Facebook group so I can see what you've created, or you can share in the share space. Can't wait to see it, and I will see you next week, everyone. Thanks so much.